Thanks. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Dever. I'm Director of Public Works of Cuyahoga County, and welcome to the County Planning Commission Board meeting for September 14, 2023. At this time, can we do a roll call? Annette?
Yes. Director Ron? Present. Mayor Brennan? Here. Councilperson Conwell? Mayor Daley Jones?
Here.
Director Dever?
Here.
Mayor Gallo?
Here.
Mayor Orcutt?
Here.
Mayor Sellers?
Here.
Councilperson Simon?
Joe Nani here representing Councilwoman Simon as an alternate.
Mayor Traore? Mayor Wheelo? You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, are there any comments from the public?
I see no comments.
Okay, thank you, Annette. We'll move to item number 3, approval of the minutes for July 13, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Brennan.
by Mayor Brennan,
Second, Mayor Sellers.
Mayor Sellers. Any comments or questions on the motion? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those approved, that motion carries. Next, we'll go right to the resolutions. Mary?
Thank you. Wesley, if you want to come to the table, since Mayor Traore is not here, you're welcome to join us. Thank you. The first item for presentation to you is resolution number 230914-A, an interagency agreement with the Cuyahoga County Department of Housing and Community Development, and I will turn it over to Jim Sonnhalter.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Jim Sonnhalter, Planning Manager for Design and Implementation, and here to introduce Resolution 230914-A. So this resolution, it's an interagency agreement between County Planning and the Department of Housing and Community Development, whereby County Planning will provide professional planning services to support the department on a number of initiatives, and these include environmental record reviews, and Nicole Laird will be leading that effort for that task. We'll also provide assistance for competitive municipal grant program reviews, and Mary will be part of that. We'll offer GIS and planning technical assistance led by Dan Meany, and a comprehensive plan, comprehensive plan update, for the village of Highland Hills. And Laura Mendez-Ortiz will be leading that one. The total contract amount is $150,000 through the Department of Housing and Community Development. And the term of the contract will run from September 1 of this year to August 31st, 2025. And I'm happy to take any questions.
And I think I'd just like to add that we previously had a multi-year contract with the Department of Development to provide these services. Sarah Parks Jackson was recently named the new director of a new Department of Housing and Community Development. So this is really a continuation of those services. Our contract had expired and we had expended the funds. And so this is a continuation of the services we previously provided.
Okay, this is great. No questions? All those in favor?
Oh, we need a motion
Oh,
to
we
approve.
need a motion.
I'll move.
Motion made by
Brennan.
Mayor Brennan.
Second, Mayor Sellers.
Any other further discussion, comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries.
All right, thank you. And before we proceed, I'd like to introduce Mayor Booker and Planning Director Larry Finch from the Village of Highland Hills. All right. Laura?
Okay, Mayor.
So Laura Mendez-Ortiz will be presenting just a brief overview of the work that we'll be doing as part of the comprehensive plan update for the village.
Sure. Thank you, Mary. Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Mendez-Ortiz. I will be leading the comprehensive plan update for the Village of Highland Hills. Just wanted to give a little bit of an overview. So the Village of Highland Hills was incorporated in 1990. Shortly after, they did a 1992 comprehensive plan, and they are wanting to do an update to address some current issues, current needs, and also to set a path forward. Some key parts of that plan provide a profile on the physical, economic, social conditions of the village to understand the needs, opportunities, and challenges, kind of go through some of the things that they've already addressed in the last plan and add additional details, some of the things that they mention or address, demographics, employment, income data, land use and zoning, which will be a big one, transportation, utilities services, and then land suitability with the vacant property that's there and the development potential for that. A big part of it, considering the village's relationship with the adjacent communities, such as Shaker Heights, Warrensville Heights, Beechwood, and the relationships that they have and some of the opportunities around there as well. A big part of this, engaging residents, stakeholders, and institutions to update those community goals that were previously outlined, and then also evaluate the development potential of the remaining undeveloped land within the village, and make recommendations for revising or improving the zoning and addressing those community goals. So we're going to be following our typical 6-phase planning process, which will include a very robust and diverse community engagement process that we will be working with the village to see what works best for them. Following plan initiation, kind of setting that up, what is that strategy, looking into current conditions, some of the things I've already addressed, looking into the vision, what community members like to see in their village, but also some of those stakeholders, especially because within this village, we have large institutional uses within there. So seeing where they want to go in the future, outlining some recommendations, and then how to implement those and some final tasks. The total estimate project budget was for this is $75,000. Work is estimated to be completed by September 30th. So, short and sweet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? Mayor?
They have workhouse, the county workhouse, or Cleveland, is it Cleveland or the county?
It's City of Cleveland.
City of Cleveland. So will they be looking at and partnering with the city of Cleveland, or is that off the table? Because that thing's just.
I think we'll definitely be having conversations with the city of Cleveland, especially since the last comprehensive plan, I believe it was 69% of the land of within the village is owned by the city of Cleveland. I'm not sure if that still stands. So
Yeah,
talking to Cleveland will be very important for sure.
I just wondered how that was going to work.
Happy to partner. We can keep the conversation going. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Joy Swong, City of Cleveland.
No pressure.
Any other further comments? Do we have a motion?
It was just
Oh, yeah.
more information.
Cool.
Yeah. We did. We jumped the gun.
Jump the gun a little.
No,
It's okay.
but thank you for the presentation, and thank you, Mayor Booker and Planner Finch, was it? Yes. For being here.
We're really excited for this process. So
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Mary.
The next item for your consideration is Resolution Number 230914-B, Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program Cost Agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission and the District 1, which is Cuyahoga County Natural Resources Assistance Council, or NRAC. Allison Ball, our Planning Initiative Specialist, will present today.
Hello, thank you all for entertaining this resolution today. As Mary said, my name is Allison Ball. I'm Planning Initiative Specialist with the Planning Commission, and I am also the District 1 liaison to the Ohio Public Works Commission. So today we are considering a contract for administrative cost services to the Natural Resources Assistance Council. So this contract is for the remainder of fiscal year 2024 and all of fiscal year 2025, I should say program year. So, and this is a little bit of a change, but before we go into the change, I just want to give you a reminder, the Ohio Public Works Commission was established back in 1987 for the infrastructure program, and both the infrastructure program and the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program are all written up in the Ohio Revised Code, Section 164. Ohio Public Works Commission's mission is to deliver its programs with the greatest efficiency and highest customer satisfaction while maintaining a high level of transparency and accountability to taxpayers. So as Mary said, we are District 1, we are a single county district, and we facilitate locally the infrastructure program and green space conservation program through the committees. So the Clean Ohio Green Space Program provides fundings for projects that preserve open spaces, sensitive ecological areas, and stream corridors. This is natural areas, it's not for playgrounds, but certainly passive recreation and green space. The district gets approximately $3 million per program year to purchase these properties or easements, and these become natural areas in perpetuity. So this is just how the program filters down from Ohio Public Works Commission. The District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee appoints all the 11 members on the Natural Resources Assistance Council, and they implement the Clean Ohio Conservation Program. They develop the project selection and evaluation methodology, and then selects projects that get recommended for funding. So here are some examples of some of the green space preserved over the years. And in fiscal year 2024, we had one project come through already. Now, there was a change in the calendar year so that it doesn't overlap with the infrastructure program. And it also, all the districts had different schedules, and now all of the 19 districts have the same schedule. And so it starts in March and ends in November. So in addition to approving the one project that came through in this short truncated year, because we ended the last year in February of 23 and then started right away. So there wasn't a lot of lead time for a lot of applications. And so the NRAC approved this one project and also approved the contract for, or their portion of the contract. It's a three-way contract for the services, cross-services agreement. So fiscal year 2024, we're just wrapping up that, and the project was awarded $1 million. We'll have $2.2 million coming back. The money doesn't go back to the state, it stays in District 1. So I'm expecting that FY 2025 will be a very competitive and robust year. The work that is being provided is the liaison will undertake the work and activities set forth in the scope of work defined in the administrative agreements included in your packet, attend any OPWC-sponsored statewide leadership event as necessary to maintain level of staff proficiency, provide the district and OPWC with the transcription of meetings, minutes, notices, agendas, and any other support services. Travel within the district is required. We do site visits to all the potential green spaces, and then under the direction of the district, initiate and develop project selection processes for approval by the district and the OPWC that will ensure the recommended projects meet the requirements of law, rules, and regulations of not just the Ohio Public Works Commission, but the Ohio Revised Code, and under the direction of the district, notify and assist all political subdivisions within the district of the opportunity to apply for the Clean Ohio program. Questions? I said there's changes. This year will be a $25,000 contract. It's typically $15,000, but this will take us through that program year going through 2025. So you won't see me back here for this next year, but back in 2026. And then I'll be on my annual schedule for $15,000, so. Okay.
No.
Resolution 230914.
Mr. Chair, sorry. I was gonna work Mary. I'll move for passage of resolution number 230914-B, requesting approval of the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program cost agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission and the District 1 Cuyahoga County Natural Resources System.
Oh, is there a second?
Second.
Hello? Any other further comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is a budget update. Seeing as we're quickly approaching the end of the third quarter, we thought it was timely to give you an update on where we are at this point of the year. So I will let Jennifer Carafa, our Business Services Manager, give a presentation on that.
Thank you, Mary. Hello, I'm Jennifer Carafa. I am the Manager of Business Services for the County Planning Commission. Today, I'm here to give you a brief update on county planning's current operating budget, both our expenses and our revenues, and also take a quick look of what we know so far about the upcoming biennial process. So our current authorized operating budget was funded at just under $3 million. And about 2/3 of that is budgeted for staff salaries and benefits. That's shown in blue. And there's a sliver, roughly $40,000, that's slated for operations and commodities. The other third of our budget, shown in green, is for contracts. And this includes just under $1 million, which is reserved for another round of the Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Grant Awards. Those dollars are not really operating expenses, but rather they're dedicated as grant contracts. Here's a look at our current budget that's broken down by our major accounting units. Our approved appropriations are shown in blue, and they're compared against year-to-date actuals, shown in green, and then their forecasted expenses are shown in yellow. The green column shows actual expenses through last Friday, September 8th, so give you a really current look, right? You can see that we've spent down about 2/3 of our overall salaries appropriation, and we've actually spent down nearly 80% already of our benefits appropriation. We've expensed almost 97% of our total contracts appropriation, and right now we've spent just over half, or $21,000, on our operating and other expenditures accounts. We're actually forecasting the following, though. We think that we're going to spend down almost all of our salaries appropriation and end the year about 3% below our original appropriation. And this is largely due to an unfilled open position that we've had, but that could change if we do hire for that vacancy before the end of the year. On the other hand, we're projecting our benefits to exceed our original benefits appropriation. We're gonna probably come in about 14% higher than what we were originally budgeted. And I think that's largely a factor of our benefits are a factor of close to 30% of salaries, whereas the budget office, they do a strict forecast. They say it's about 25%. So we knew we were going to be short, and we're seeing that play out here.
And why is that? Why are they not using whatever else is using at 30%?
I don't know. I mean, I've talked to Mary about it, and I think that of our small staff, that we're largely a lot of professionals, and that they use the county's medical plans, and OPERS is expensive, and hospitalization. So just a standard factor of 25% does not reflect what our office is drawing.
Not realistic.
Correct.
To that point, is there a historical number you have on what the percentage is?
It's always been over 25%. I think last year was 28%. It does vary.
Okay.
Sometimes we have interns, and so in a year we had 3 interns. They aren't being paid those fringe benefits, although there's an OPERS component. But it's typically been over the 0.25%. In terms of contracts, do we have another question? Okay.
Really, I just can't understand it, really. Like, it's 30% is the number, right? You're gonna throw your budget upside down, coming in under 30, right? So you're gonna do some shimmy at the end to get under the wire. I get it, but it's unnecessary.
In terms of contracts, we have spent down nearly all of that by issuing our Urban Tree Grant funds, but there is some dollars within that for us to have agency operating expenses, and this is where we would draw down our staff strategic planning session and where we might draw down a logo and branding contract with the vendor. So there's still a few dollars left for us there. And then lastly, we are forecasting our operating expenses will exceed that original appropriation of $40,000, given that we're already seeing higher membership dues, more conference expenses, and just higher commodity costs due to inflation. Bottom line. So unlike previous budget years where we end under budget, we're actually forecasting that we might have an overall budget deficit and very likely to go in front of council to request additional appropriation before the year ends to balance our budget.
Quick question, on the open position that you have, has that position been posted?
I can let Mary speak to that.
Yes, we had a principal planner position that we posted. We extended the posting, ended up closing it, did not get the candidates that we had originally identified. Then we had heard some kind of outside people saying they missed it, they were interested, so we ended up reopening the position, posting it. We did conduct one interview last week, and so we haven't made a decision yet, but we have, really not found that perfect candidate for the position, and it really is something where we are having conversations, most recently with Franklin County, looking at the requirements for the job description. They have seen, due to the competition and being unable to fill positions, that they have dropped the AICP requirement from as a requirement, and they've also gone as far as reducing some of the educational requirements in order to get applicants to apply. So it is not just something we're seeing here, but it is really, an issue going across the board. So, and that, as you correct, yes. Yeah, and that is something where we went through a lot of revisions with PRC on what needed to be part of each of the different series of planners. And we're really looking at having to have some future conversations with them and making some refinements to those job descriptions going into next year. Because again, this won't be the only position we'll need to fill. In case we do have vacancies in the future, we want to be able to identify the right candidates.
On the flip side, county planning is actually exceeding the Office of Budget and Management's original revenue expectations. They thought we'd bring in $177,500, and so far we've recognized outside revenues that total over $180,000. And then also based on the contract work that we currently have, we anticipate ending the year higher than our 3-year average with roughly $244,000 in outside revenues that get deposited back to the county general fund at the end of the year. Looking ahead, county planning has already been in talks with the budget office both last month and this month in order to communicate what our operating needs are for the next biennial budget. But at this point, we're not prepared to share a copy of that base budget just yet. It is expected that sometime in November, our Office of Budget and Management will share what the proposed county executive's recommended budget is. But on November 6th, the County Planning Commission and Mary will be presenting in front of County Council for our budget hearing to discuss our biennial budget. And then ultimately, the budget process culminates in December when County Council adopts the next biennial budget. So I do expect that I would come back later this year to share more specifics as we know them, but I wanted to give you highlights today. So thank you. Are there any questions for me?
Do you mind sending that over to us?
My slideshow?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll send a copy of all the entire presentation, but we'll make sure you have that.
I have a question. Do they usually pass their budget in the whole working year?
Correct.
2-year budget?
2 years. Great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll try and go through some things pretty quickly, but we've got a few items I just want to make sure that you're aware of. I believe the last time we met, I was hadn't yet spoken on the panel with Director Wong for the APA National and Cleveland.com. It takes a planner for the lakefront discussion, so that was a great event. And so as a result of that, American Planning Association, the national chapter, asked if I would participate. Oh, thank you. In a congressional fly-in. And so I have agreed to that. I did send an email to all of you, making sure that that was okay, that I did that. They are providing all travel and lodging expenses, so that's nothing that's going to impact our budget, which is wonderful. So that is taking place next week, and I'll give you a little bit more information on that. Also, APA Ohio State Conference is coming up at the end of the month, as well as awards, a little update on our bylaws, and then, as Jennifer mentioned, the logo and branding, and then a pilot project that I wanted to just brief you on quickly. So for Washington, D.C., I will be one of 2 Ohio representatives that are attending, myself and Wendy Moeller, who owns a planning firm down in Cincinnati area. We'll be meeting with Senate and congressional leaders and staff. We will probably most likely be meeting with staff than the actual leaders themselves, but I got my schedule today, and we are meeting with Chantel Brown's office, Sherrod Brown's office, and J.D. Vance's office. So I have communicated with the administration to just make sure that I know anything currently happening with any asks or discussions that are there, and thank yous needed for those meetings. And so we're really looking at zoning, and I'm sure you've all heard a lot about it in your own communities, and zoning, how it relates to the lack of housing and the inability for a lot of communities to build multifamily housing because of the restrictions to zoning, and just those missing middle neighborhoods, and how we can help to try and provide more inventory for the people who need, affordable, attainable housing, which affects so many other things, and health and well-being and jobs and employment and school and everything else. So we've got some really great talking points that we're going to be talking to. Also, as part of this, we will be meeting with HUD to talk about the pro grant, which I know City of Cleveland is looking at as well. Sarah Parks Jackson for the county is leading that application. They will be applying as the county. All of the entitlement communities in Cuyahoga County, except for Cleveland, are participating in that application. And so really just kind of asking more questions. We know what we're looking to go towards, and I know county planning will be assisting with that application in terms of the zoning and transit-oriented development work that we've been doing to try and help that application. So I know Sarah's been in touch with the City of Cleveland, and it's a really great opportunity. I think there's $85 million available across the nation. Minimum reward is $1 million over a certain amount. I can't remember the number of years, or as much as $10 million. So really looking at ways and how we provide attainable housing for the residents in Cuyahoga County, and really try to eliminate the barriers for development to build that type different diverse housing stocks. Did you want to say anything about that, Director Wong? No? Okay, thanks. Okay, also as part of that trip, I will be participating in the Housing Supply Accelerator Program. This is a big campaign of APA National, really again trying to look at where areas that have already modified zoning codes to increase their housing stock, and where it has been tremendously successful, and how can we do this in other places, and then reauthorizing funding to continue to do that. And again, knowing local communities and all the burdens that you carry, you don't have the necessarily technical expertise in-house to be rewriting zoning codes or know what's happening with the different legislations. And so trying to find ways to make that more attainable for communities, much like the work we've done as a pilot for South Euclid and Euclid as a result of the single-family zoning, really trying to extend services of expert planners at the regional, state level, and to really help the local municipalities. So I'll be happy to report back on that trip and give you all the insights and things that I learn and bring home with me on that. APA Ohio State Conference is later this month. We have planning sessions that are going to be led by Jim and team for the lakefront, Patrick and his team. Well, I can't remember all the announcers, all the speakers, but people from outside agencies as well on single-family zoning. And then Laura and Paul will be presenting a session on design guidelines. So really taking our work that we're doing here locally and showcasing it at the state level. There were a lot of submissions, 4 sessions, and really proud of the work that's been done by the team to get selected for those and present at that conference. We have a so all of those folks will be attending, as well as, I think, majority of our planning staff. So a lot of carpooling and kind of reducing expenses where we can, understanding budget shortages. So kudos to the team for working out some of those cost reduction efforts. Also, we have award nominations that are in. Those will be announced Friday of the conference. And so we're excited to, hopefully, we had 4 submissions for projects, and hoping to at least come home with a couple awards. So we'll keep you posted on that as well. Bylaws update. I want to again thank Mayor Wheelo and Councilman Simon and Wesley and team for really kind of rolling up our sleeves and looking at the bylaws. And Michael King here from Law as well. We looked at it, and it really was the point that we wanted to make sure we clarified was on the planning regions and how they're representing on our board. And so, Michael, if you want to say anything too, because you helped draft this, but this was on September 12th council agenda. And so it will go to committee. And so we assume that we'll bring this back to you before the end of the year for action. But I did include kind of, you cannot see that from here, but if you want to just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Director Serby mentioned, this ordinance was introduced this past Tuesday. It's been referred to committee. Will actually be heard in Councilman Simon's committee, I think, next week. I'm waiting for the agenda to be finalized to let you know for sure. But assuming all goes smoothly there, it will likely be passed either at the second council meeting in September or the first meeting in October. So either way, I think it should be enacted before the next planning commission meeting, at which point, we can move to update the bylaws.
Perfect, thank you. And this was one section that we really needed updating because it really treated Cleveland differently. And so we really wanted to say Cleveland is one of the planning regions, and so therefore cleaning up the language in the county code so that we're easily able to point to that without a lot of background information in the actual bylaws themselves. So we do have a few other things that I know we had some red lines that we're working through, but we will have those back to you, hopefully maybe not October, if we will if we can, but otherwise bring it back for approval of the amended bylaws. Okay, logo and branding. This is something, since I started 2.5 years ago, which is flying by, but looking at what did our logo mean, what did it mean about us, how well representative of it was, is it of us? And so we knew we couldn't take on everything all at one time. If you remember last year, we did the strategic planning session. And so we really looked at vision, mission, values. And now we feel like this is a great time to take a look at what we've got. And as Jennifer went through, that we do have a little bit of a few dollars for contracts that we are hoping to use for a logo and branding effort. And so understanding we would like to do a lot of things. We kept it the scope very tight. We issued an RFP. We released it to a targeted list of MBE, WBE, DBE, and SBE firms here locally. Worked with Department of Equity and Inclusion to get vendors that were already part of the county as well to make sure they were included in that release, as well as posting on social media. So we received 6 proposals last Friday. Right now, we're going through with a small team in-house of scoring and evaluating those, and we just met this morning, and we are going to move forward with interviewing 4 of the 6. So we'll have those complete by the end of September, and then I will be bringing an action to you in October so that we can get under contract with the selected firm, and then hopefully by the end of the year, that was the goal that we set out for the consultants, that we would have a new logo by the end of the year. So minimal budget. I mean, we know branding can be very big. This is not going to take into account anything on the website, but it really is focused on color palettes, logo, and how we want to envision the County Planning Commission going forward for years to come. The last time it was updated was 2015, 14. So it's time for a little refresh, we think. So we're excited about that. Okay, final thing in my report is the Turney Road TOD corridor study. So we have been cruising right along with the transit-oriented development work as an initiative for the county. And so we really looked at how can we look at a corridor that is a priority transit corridor and apply some of the best practices that we're identifying as part of the TOD overall work. GCRTA is doing a pilot corridor study, not a pilot, but they're doing a corridor study with federal funds on Broadway, which is in the Cleveland section of Turney Road. We had approached them by potentially asking to extend the, the study area of that project, but they were unable to do so. So we said, look, this may be a really great opportunity to do a pilot out of the TOD work, much like we, did the pilot zoning codes out of single-family zoning, to really look at how we can apply the best practices. And so the goal really is to improve zoning regulations and the policies to attract more TOD to the TOD to the key corridors in Cuyahoga County. We previously did the master plan for Garfield Heights. They are thrilled about this and really excited that we're looking at this corridor. There's just so much opportunity to reduce, vehicular priority and look at bike and pedestrian access and then how it relates to transit. And so we're excited about this. This is something that we're doing, in kind as a next step in our TOD work. And so just wanted to give you an update on that as well. And then I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Any old business today? We have no old business. New business.
I had one thing I just wanted to acknowledge. Jennifer and Kevin, both of them will be celebrating their 27th work anniversary this year. So kudos to them. Kevin is on the 16th and Jennifer's on September 24th. So our longest term employees, and just very grateful for all the work you do and just wanted to thank you. So we're happy that you've continued your career here at Planning Commission.
Okay, anything further for the good of the order? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Now, don't go anywhere. You've got Solid Waste Policy Committee. Thank you.
Sure.
Michelle, do you want to come and sit up here? Where's Michelle? Thank you, everybody.
Solid waste is connected to what I sit on?
Michelle, you
I
can
don't
have
think
a hot
so.
Thank you.
You can sit.
I don't know if I'm, who's on the solid waste policy committee? Am I on it?
Yeah, I don't think I was.
Same board members? We're still on it. Joe, you're still on it.
Me too. Still on? Oh, okay.
Hi, Michelle.
That is me.
I am?
She left her water bottle.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Get me straight.
She'll get it. Oh, she meant it. She meant it. It was warm. Are you? No, I'm good. Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I've seen them.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
No, I have one of those.
I'm pretty much no paper anymore.
No paper?
And they mailed us this piece, so I already
We are ready.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is 2:42. Thank you. I'll call to order the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District Policy Committee meeting for September 14th, 2023. Annette, if we can call the roll.
Director Ron? Mayor Brennan?
Here.
Councilperson Conwell?
Present.
Mayor Daley Jones?
Here.
Director Dever?
Here.
Mayor Gallo?
Here.
Mayor Orcutt?
Here.
Mayor Sellers?
Here.
Donani?
Here.
Mayor Traore? Mayor Wheelo? Michelle Wilhelm? You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. If I could, the approval of the minutes for the November 10th Policy Committee meeting of 2022. Can I have a motion? Motioned by Councilwoman Conwell.
Second.
Second by Mayor Orcutt. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the district updates. Beth?
Thank you. I will be brief. We've been quite busy thus far this year, and I'm going to go through some updates, and then we'll turn our attention to the PowerPoint that we have available. Earlier this year, we assisted the City of Cleveland with an application for a USDA grant, and that application was for expanded organics collection within the city, in addition to continuing the work of organics rescue and collection at the West Side Market. So we as the district have offered about $18,000 of in-kind educational services. So we did get that application off, and we are continuing to have our fingers crossed, hopefully to hear later this year that we are successful. So I will report as soon as we have a definitive on that. Speaking of organics and food composting, we have also spent a good portion of this year working on developing organics infrastructure within the county. We do have several companies that do organics or food waste collection, both from a residence as well as in a drop-off format. But what we lack within Cuyahoga County is really the infrastructure or the area to compost those organics on a larger scale, meaning we don't have the infrastructure here locally. If we wanted to, for example, the City of Cleveland wanted to begin offering the curbside collection of organics, or someone else wanted to do, a curbside collection of organics, or if we wanted to do drop-off organics countywide. We don't have that infrastructure within our boundaries. The Canton area is where the majority of organics composting actually takes place, and that is just a bit too far to make the financials on that as attractive as we would like. So we've been working with Kurtz Brothers as well as Rust Belt Riders and Riddall to try and develop Class 2 composting facilities here in our own backyard. So we are making some progress, and we will continue diligently to develop that. We've also been one of many stakeholders at the table for the Harvard Refuse Landfill project that seems to continue for some time. This has been an orphan landfill. It closed over 20 years ago. It actually is a pre-RCRA landfill, and its boundaries are within the City of Cleveland, the City of Garfield Heights, as well as the village of Cuyahoga Heights. And we are trying to work with all of the stakeholders to ascertain the facility's overall health. There's actually never been an evaluation of this facility's overall health. There has been some recent interest in redevelopment, but we would like to see a report done on exactly how things stand. We know how some methane is dealt with. We don't know water quality issues and things of that nature. So the district has received approval from its board to conduct an analysis with the help of SCS engineers to at least do a non-Rule 513, meaning we're not going to disturb the cap, go through historical records, physical walkabouts, and try to come up with a list of immediate action items that need to be addressed within the facility, and then long-term, what would that operation and maintenance look like, both on a schedule as well as a cost, and hopefully then that kind of information would be helpful for the stakeholders or any future developers just to give them an idea of the health of that facility. So as that progresses, I will be back to report on that issue also. We also had some legislative movement this year. Senate Bill 119 was introduced right before the session ended this late last spring. And Senate Bill 119 was introduced by Senator Reineke. He's out of the Ottawa-Seneca-Sandusky Solid Waste District. He resides in Seneca County. And this piece of legislation was what we would consider designer legislation. It really was pointed at a very specific issue that was occurring at the Sunny Farm landfill within Seneca County. That landfill is a municipal solid waste landfill. However, it receives via rail shredded material from out of state. So this material comes in on rail. It's not identified as either municipal solid waste or, for that matter, construction demolition debris, and is then disposed in that facility. That facility has proceeded to fill up rather quickly with out-of-state waste, and rightly so, that is a concern. However, the senator had proposed increasing the state disposal fee. So of all of the garbages that our businesses generate and our residents generate, the first fee that's collected at the last stop is $4.75 that goes to the state. And Senator Reineke was proposing increasing that to $8.50 per ton. And so that would have a rather significant impact on all of our businesses statewide, as well as all of our residents. We did get involved as solid waste districts. We are member organizations of the Organization of Solid Waste Districts of Ohio, which is a sister organization of county commissioners. So we did have success in meeting with the senator. He did not increase the state fee, so that has remained at $4.75. We were very happy about that. The one thing we were not successful in having him remove from the language was he was determined to see that in multi-county districts, which obviously does not affect us since we're a single county district, but we do have concerns for our sister organizations, allowing a single county within a multi-county district to just unilaterally state that they're done with that partnership. They were seeking a divorce, and that's actually a term that we use, and leave that organization, which is of concern because that sets a precedence for other multi-jurisdictional organizations and just the safety of their continued work together. So then, fortunately, the unilateral withdrawal provision did remain in the statute. We did find out yesterday that this piece of legislation did pass the end of last year out of committee. It was the Agricultural Committee. It passed out unanimously. It made it to the Senate floor where it was passed unanimously, and we found out yesterday it has been introduced on the House floor. So that is more of a procedural introduction. I'll keep you posted as to if that actually, gets any interest. We were hoping.
Question regarding the fee that you mentioned. Is the fee dedicated for a specific service, or does it just go into the state's general fund?
So the state fee is divided across 7 different agencies. Several go to the EPA to different divisions. So they kept the $4.75 whole, which is good. We were worried about that. This was also affecting construction and demolition debris. And so, we're happy that he didn't mess with those disposal fees because it wasn't going to be good for anyone. So, okay. And then we can turn our, do I just click this, Kevin? Oh, right. Perfect. I'd like to turn your attention to your PowerPoint. We're going to talk a little bit about the annual district report. There we go. Our annual district report, or ADR as we like to call it, is a statutory annual report that we have to submit to the Ohio EPA by June 1st of every year, which we were successful in achieving. And this slide is a recap of where we stood at the end of 2022. So under the state solid waste plan, a district can report either a percentage goal, which we adhere to, which is goal 2, or an access goal, which is goal 1, which we it's kind of an easier goal, I'll say. We stuck with the tough goal. But what this entails is that the beginning of every year, we send surveys out to not only communities, but to businesses, to industries, to recycling facilities, to compost facilities. And what we're trying to do is put together this solid waste pie that you see in front of you. In the current state plan, all districts have a 25% goal to try and reach a reduction with a residential commercial sectors of 25%. There used to be a state goal for industrial of 66%. In recent plan updates at the state level, they've eliminated that, primarily because it was difficult for many districts to even get near that. We still track it, and we find that that data is valuable. And as you can see, in 2022, we achieved 24.37% in the residential and commercial sector, just shy of the 25%. And now that is, up a bit from last year, which is good. And then we did track our industrial goal. And in 2022, we achieved 77.6% reduction, which is terrific. That's even above the no longer existing state goal. And overall combined, when you look at all sectors, our district is achieving a 40.6% reduction. And the pie just somewhat represents how that is composed. So as you can see, we are still, as as an area, disposing almost 60% in landfills. And then the remaining 40%, which is broken between recycling and organics management, which is not only food waste, but yard waste. So we are continuing to try and move that needle through different programming. And as you can see, we generate, so the material that we produce across all sectors is well over 2 million tons. Our world exists in tons, so.
Question on this, excuse me, sorry. On the recycled tons, is it recycled or is it sent for recycling?
That is material that is sent to facilities. So the way we track items is as it rolls across a scale into a facility, that's where that weight is captured.
Okay, so we're not certain that it's actually being recycled. I just read stories about the
it's being
the difficulty in recycling plastic, for example.
The one thing
that all goes somewhere.
It all goes somewhere. One of the things that we as a district are very, very concerned about is keeping that transparency for just that reason. And one of the things that's good about being in the Midwest is it's very expensive to ship things to the coast. So we actually have quite a bit of infrastructure within the Midwest for dealing with all the materials we collect. We have in our waste shed, kind of like a watershed, we have 4 what's called material recovery facilities or recycling facilities that all of our materials feed into. And we do survey them annually. Not only do we ask them what materials are they collecting, but we request of them to provide us their end markets. So, for example, if you are a Rumpke community, if you live in a Rumpke community, that glass that's being collected, that is going to their local recycling facility. The glass is actually being pulled off. And Rumpke's a little unique in that they have a separate glass sorting facility in Dayton where they clean that even further, and all of that material is brokered to Owens, Illinois. So we're looking for those kinds of connections. Is the cardboard being sent to a Pratt paper mill, or is the plastic being sent to Phoenix Industries, which is a recycling. So we do track that material because that's a very important. Just as you are asking, we want to be able to provide that information.
I'm always trying to. The wish cycling that I've heard of, and my kids do that. They throw everything in the recycle bin because they think it can be recycled. And I'm the one pulling it out. And I'm like, no, we don't recycle
Wish cycling
those.
is horrible.
But let's just say one of those gets through. It technically gets through to be on that list, but somebody pulls it out at the back end. Is that how it works? Okay.
Yes. So
Thank you.
wish cycling ends up being considered contamination.
Yes.
Yeah. So I try to equate recycling facilities to kind of new car manufacturing facilities, very automated, a lot of AI and, mechanized things. There are tolerances, so they know exactly what they're looking for. They know exactly the material and the kind of cleanliness and the grade they need to have that commodity to be able to sell it as such to an end market. So for example, if you toss in the Little Tyke swimming pool into your bin, that's going to be pulled off. It doesn't meet size tolerance. It doesn't meet the kind of grade that they're actually pulling for market. So yes, when in doubt, throw it out. So and to that point, we are constantly educating, which actually is a good segue into this slide. In addition to the statutory annual district report, we also generate our own residential recycling report that we send to interested parties, use the policy committee, all elected officials, and this is how we gather data from our communities. We have 59 communities. We ask them to share with us on an annual basis their intimate details of their waste management. Where are they disposing? With whom are they recycling? We usually, we're up on that, but we ask them for all those numbers. What are they doing with yard waste? What are they doing with organics? And then there are communities that, do other innovative programming in the way of, maybe it's clothes collection or, computer recycling. So all of those types of things feed into their efforts, and we report it as such. And so overall, we do try to Mr. Nani's comments, we try our best to educate everybody on how to recycle right and not to wish cycle. So, and some of our communities actually audit their materials. I'm going to pick on Cleveland for a moment. In their most recent contract that we helped them put together, we recommended that they have their materials audited by their recycling processor on an annual basis. And the national average for contamination in a community program is 20%. Cleveland achieved 15% contamination, which is outstanding. So I'd like to give them a little applause there. And
I appreciate the shout out. But I'm also looking at the rates, and is it?
This is from
Cleveland's-
2022.
Okay.
So this is a partial, you only had a program for half a year.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So please don't be alarmed.
Alarmed, and I knew there had to be something. So.
Yes. This is 2022 data, and you all didn't get things up and running until like halfway through the year. So yes, it's probably unfair that I pointed that out. Okay, we're going to talk briefly about, click the button, our finances. As a solid waste district, we are an independent political subdivision. We are self-funded. We receive no money from the general fund. Our major funding source is what's called a generation fee, which is $2 per ton. We are still probably one of the lowest in the state fee-wise, which is a good place to be and remain. And as you can see on this, basically 96% of our revenue comes from our generation fee. We do receive a grant from the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District in the amount of $75,000 annually. And we do sell composting equipment. So that miscellaneous number that you see is our healthy composting equipment sales. So, and then on the expenditure side, which is our next slide here, the majority of our budget, about 64%, is expended on program services and the personnel to run those programs. So that is inclusive of our household hazardous waste programs that we run, our business and our generalist educators who are out, in person conducting educational sessions or conducting webinars. Operating expenses is for our warehouse. That's where, for example, all of the household hazardous waste that your service directors collect individually, they bring those into us. We batch them there at the facility, and then we manage those. So operating expenses are under that segment of the budget, which is about 14%. And then we also fund both the Cleveland Board of Health and the County Board of Health, and we fund those folks so they can get registered sanitarians out to inspect both open and closed facilities, whether that's a compost facility, transfer station, landfill. And we want to make sure that the health and the environment of our citizens are have a watchful eye. So that is where the rest of our budget goes. To talk a little bit about programming, this gives you an idea of where we were in 2020. I mentioned that we conduct both in-person and online educational sessions. We reached almost 1,500 people doing both of those. And we also manage 3 grant programs, which I want to point out to all of you mayors. We have our Community Recycling Awareness Grant, which we will be posting soon in October, and then applications will be due before the end of the year. And that is for funding of, just as it sounds, things to help with your local recycling efforts in your community. We also have a recycling and composting grant that we offer for communities and nonprofits. And then we have, last year we launched our first inaugural, that's a bit redundant, our inaugural special project grant, which is for larger projects. For example, City of Rocky River was a recipient, one of those 2 recipients, and their money was put towards the purchase of a baler to help at their transfer station. The cardboard that was brought in by the residents, it allowed them to bale it and get it to market, thus eliminating the need to use big open-top containers, and it helped drive their pricing down on the cost side, which allowed them to net revenue better in the management of their cardboard. So the next slide talks a little bit specifically to our outreach and communications. As you all know, social media and electronic communications is paramount. So we have well over 300,000 page views, and we have over 136,000 followers. So, and that the slide kind of indicates what our top 5 searches in 2022 were. So you get an idea what the most numerous questions we receive are. We still actually answer the phone, and we had over 5,000 phone calls into the district in 2022, and just some other miscellaneous outreach statistics for you. On the business side, we do have a business educator, Doreen, and she does all of her work for the businesses within Cuyahoga County, large and small. She conducted 39 webinars, touched over 400 businesses within the county in 2022, and then has actually provided assistance to almost 200 of our businesses in 2022. Mentioned specialty waste earlier. Those are the things that cannot go into landfills. This is some idea of the materials that we have diverted. So in 2022, we managed to divert and recycle 188 tons of TVs, computers, and media storage. We also, and this is the one that always I think is amazing to me, this number hardly ever goes down. We collected over 14,000 scrap tires in 2022. We operate a program for Contractors Liberty, and that's going to be kicking off actually the end of this month. What we do is we partner with our service directors. We ask them to go forth in their communities, collect scrap tires that they find in the rights-of-ways, take those back to their service departments, and then we pay for Liberty Tire to do a milk run, go to community, and collect all those tires. Liberty then processes those into a variety of rubber products, whether they're mats or chrome rubber or whatnot. So that is coming up. So your service directors will be getting, no pun intended, ready to roll those out and out of their out of their space shortly. And just to touch base on some of the challenges, the perennial challenge of illegal dumping, we are always dealing with that, which is somewhat reflected in the scrap tire numbers that we presented previously. We were successful this year. Our Environmental Crimes Task Force did have 3 successful felony convictions, and 4 misdemeanor cases. And so that's good. Every little bit helps. We will be sending notifications out shortly. We will be conducting an Environmental Crimes Task Force workshop in October. So we'll be getting those notifications out shortly to law enforcement officials and legal staff. And we will encourage you all to come. So
Is the task force staffed by, is there a representative of the sheriff's department on there? I thought there was.
there was, and then there isn't, and there still isn't.
Oh, okay.
So
Did the person retire, do you know, or?
it was under the previous sheriff, it was a staffing issue, and they just did
Okay.
not have the personnel. So I do know that the new sheriff's office is looking into having somebody come back on board with us, which is terrific. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. And then again, we already touched on, recycling contamination, what you can do for that. We're constantly working at the education. Enforcement is also an option. We have had a couple of communities actually do hang tag type of education. We call them OOPS tags. Expanding recycling access. We are proud to announce that there is a ribbon cutting tomorrow afternoon. Waste Management has recently invested over $30 million into their Oakwood recycling facility. It's basically a brand new facility, which is terrific because we haven't had that capacity in our county for a long time. So we now have greater recycling capacity actually in our county, and we look forward to partnering with them for outreach and education also. They'll have an educational room there that we can actually take people to see how it works. Oakwood. Mm-hmm. And you may have noticed they painted the outside of the building, which is after 20 years. It has a nice shiny exterior look to it. And yes, there's $30 million investment in that facility. It'll be a 40-ton per hour recycling facility, which is amazing. Excess glass separation capacity, which we're very happy about. Other things that remain a challenge, as I mentioned, we're looking to do better with our organics diversion, and changing markets on recycling is just, probably like your personal portfolio of stocks. It goes up, it goes down, and we're always trying to stay ahead of that. And the last thing, the reason I bring up challenges, is we have entered into the planning timeline for our next solid waste plan update. So that actually began ticking away back in May. Our draft plan is due to the Ohio EPA for non-binding advisory comments just a little under a year from now. And then we enter into a process. Once we get those comments back from the state, we incorporate those in, create a kind of a second version, which then goes out for public comment, public hearings. We eventually will be coming to all of your communities to ask for a vote, and that won't be until 2025. And then after we receive votes in, we hopefully will receive 100% ratification, which is what that's called, positive votes. It is due into the EPA by November of 2025. So we will be back in front of you more frequently as we walk through this process. So, because we will be trying to come up with some recommendations as to activities we want to incorporate. Just the last couple of things, and I will conclude. As you can see, Ms. Wilhelm is here as our public representative. We have lost our, oh, absolutely. We have lost our largest generator representative. He has left Cleveland Cliffs, so we have a vacancy there. So we are soliciting anyone who works for a company that's a large generator within the district. Actually, Cleveland Cliffs is considering some, so when we meet again, we probably will have someone that we will be recommending to the policy committee for you to vote upon. And but if you have ideas, please let me know. And then lastly, we had our inaugural Reduce, Reuse, Repair Fair last Saturday, and it was a success. In the hierarchy of reduction overall, refuse, reduce, and reuse come before recycling. And we had 75 participants, which was terrific. The actual attendees thought the networking was wonderful, so we will be repeating that, hopefully expanding that to a larger venue next year. And I would.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I attended that event Saturday, and I've been focused on the reuse concept for a long time, but I thought it was great because it introduced people to some businesses that you may not be aware of around you, and these were small business owners. The other thing I would mention that went on this summer mostly were the Fix-It Cleveland clinics. If anybody was familiar with those or attended any of those, and this was an opportunity if you had something that you wanted repaired. In my case, it happened to be a leaf blower that just stopped working. And I brought it in, and this was free to the public. And there were people there that helped me, took it apart, was able to fix it. So not only did I walk away with something that worked again, it didn't end up in the landfill. Some of the other things were related to sewing and other kinds of fix-it things. So there were several of those, and I hope those continue. And then lastly, I was going to say on the issue of education to the public, coming up a couple of weeks now, there's going to be the Clean Water Fest and Ingenuity Fest, and both of those, like many events that have been held, are going to be zero waste events. So the idea is, and if you come, I'm volunteering at the Clean Water, so stop and say hi. But the idea is that people, I think, get exposed to that concept. So people would be composting whatever they don't consume. They'll be recycling, and of course, hopefully, there's not much that has to get thrown in the landfill. But anyway, so I think again that those are events that get people thinking about that idea and get them exposed to those kinds of concepts, and in a kind of side way. But I think those are all great things that have happened.
Yeah, we are actually, we will be the garbage folks at the Clean Water Fest. We'll be in our lovely aprons, and as Michelle said, we'll be directing people that, yes, you put it in the compost bin or hopefully recycling, and very little in the landfill bucket. So that would come by and see us.
Beth, I have a quick question. In regards to the district grants awarded, I noticed that there was only 38 communities that participated, 59 communities. What's holding them back?
We'd like to know that too. I mean, we do. We send out, it's not, whatever comes in, we typically award. I mean, we will, for example, we got 38 applications and we didn't turn anybody down. We may have helped somebody kind of tweak things so it was, more focused. I think it's primarily lack of staff.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these grants go for paper shredding events in your communities. Some go for the production of educational material. That grant program in particular has been run for years, and we have some communities that have never applied once.
Sure. Does, maybe through the Mayors and Managers Association, a presentation to that group may be beneficial to just bring the awareness to them to say, hey, there's money available to educate.
Up to $6,000 for every community. Okay, that's a very good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just have one quick question for you. If, when you're looking at the recycled organics, and if your city's refuse collector has now decided not to separate that anymore, how are you going to move forward and quantify that?
If they're mixing it in with your garbage, it's garbage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, you cannot take anything that's commingled like that to a compost facility. So if they are mixing that in with your bulk waste, that is going straight to the landfill. So it doesn't count in your recycling column.
Yes.
Also, if you have not had one of the representatives come out to your community, like visit with active club. So, and invite other clubs. they can be,
Mhm.
and they'll actually show so that they'll see it on the screen, seeing actually how it's being done, and you'll see the cellophane look at us and they don't always believe us. So, you know, the fact that someone's saying their official solid waste shirt, it is a really interesting.
Thank you.
It's not boring at all. It's actually fascinating. And if you haven't done it, find some kind of arena to do it. It's like absolutely fascinating. And, I was here with Jim Petro when we went to the community to get the solid waste. We went to PTA meetings and church meetings and things like that. So I keep saying to my mind when I was sitting there, some of these organizations should bring in the solid waste district and just, you know, show how it's done. And even maybe they go home and tell their parents, oh, you're doing it wrong. So it's a really interesting presentation.
Well, thank
We do it
you.
probably every other year.
And we do. We any one of us, we pack up our bags and come visit you. Not a problem.
Pretty fun.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Brennan?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Michael Brennan. Beth, it's great to see you.
Thank you.
I missed the last time you addressed this body, and so I did not have an opportunity then, so I'll take the opportunity now to thank you and thank the Solid Waste District for the attention that's been provided to the city of University Heights. Reported out last time about the solid waste and recycling collection system survey that was conducted summer and early fall of 2022. And that survey gave us a lot of great information upon which we may hopefully one day soon make solid public policy type, solid decisions rooted in good data and transform our systems and move up from being among all suburban communities that pick up recyclables, move up from being tied for the worst in the amount and the percentage of our volume that we recycle. It is a personal cause to me at this point, and it's one that I know a lot of folks in our community have taken up, and I know that there is some fatigue within our own community about the discussion, and I remind people that I'm tired of it too, especially because I'm tired that we haven't done anything about it. But I want to thank you and thank the Solid Waste District for taking the interest that you did, for being a voice of authority and reason, and bringing in an actual professional survey that we can rely on, the results that we can rely on, as opposed to the disinformation that was collected by another body within our community.
Well, thank you. We do act as free consultants. I'll put a plug in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? So district announcements, Beth?
Please check our website. Under events, we list them all the time. So sign up for a webinar, or on the website, you can go under presentations and ask for a speaker, and we'd be happy to come out. That's it.
Okay. No resolutions today?
No.
Discussions? Any discussion amongst the group here? Seeing none?
Eek.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second the motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for attending today.